We are thrilled to welcome you to the online session on the Union Budget Talk. We understand the significance of staying informed and updated on the latest developments, especially in the current financial scenario. And this session aims to provide you with just that. We are looking forward to a productive and engaging session. It is with great honor and pride that we welcome our dynamic Zone President, JCI Senator Namrata Joshi ma'am, and SMA Chairperson, JC Meeta Agrawal ma'am, to this talk. Your presence adds immense value to the event, and we are grateful for your support. We encourage active participation and welcome all questions and comments after the session. You can type all your queries in the chat box, and we will try to take up as many queries as possible. I now request President of JCI Jaipur Oasis, JC Sandeep Chapra, to kindly share his remarks.
Thank you so much, JC Naveen. Indeed, it is a pleasure for me and for all of us to attend this wonderful session on Union Budget by JC Adv Tanuj Agrawal ji. Most of us already know about JCI, but for our guests who are coming from outside, I would like to share a bit about JCI. So JCI, or Junior Chamber International, is a global non-profit organization that provides opportunities for young people to develop leadership skills, social responsibilities, and entrepreneurship. JCI is operating over 120 countries and provides a platform for young people between the age of 18 to 40 to network, participate in community service projects, and attend training and development events. The organization's mission is to provide development opportunities that empower young people to create positive change in their communities. As of now, we have about 60,000 JCI members in India, and we are expecting this number to shoot up drastically in this year and touch 1 lakh members. Rajasthan falls under Zone 5, which has over 40 local organizations, and JCI Jaipur Oasis is fortunate to be part of this zone under the able leadership of our zone president, JCI Senator Namrata Joshi ma'am. Our chapter is a couple chapter and was established in 2013, and we have about 60 members actively working for this community. JCI Jaipur Oasis contributes significantly to the individual and society through their work in a broad area of fields: environment, health, poverty alleviation, culture and arts, education, personality development, entrepreneurial aspirations of the individuals. So today, this session on Union Budget is one such step to support our fellow JCs and businessmen to better understand this budget and learn what is there for them. Our aim is to create an inclusive and engaging environment where everyone can participate and contribute. Whether you are an industry expert, a student, or simply someone who is interested in financial aspects of the country, this session will offer you unique opportunities to hear from our expert, JC Advocate Tanuj Agrawal ji. We are grateful for him to accept our request to be the speaker of this session, and we are looking forward to a productive and insightful session. Thank you so much. Back to Naveen.
Thank you, JC Sandeep Chhabra ji, for your kind words of encouragement. I would now request our guest of honor, SMA Chairperson JC Meeta Agrawal, to share her views with us. JC Meeta, you can unmute yourself.
I mean, every small initiative that is taken with the current topic is always, a booster for everyone to stay updated and to put on their views, and definitely we come up with something good. So at first, I would really like to congratulate the team to organize such a beautiful session on the current topic. And I would also, I'm very thankful to the speaker who's going to, put light on the current budget. Tanuj ji, thank you very much. And we will be honored to, listen to you today. I can see Raghu Kedia ji also. It's a pleasure to see such a dynamic leader, being a support to the organization with all the positive things possible. As far as the budget is concerned, the budget looks really good. As I just said in the last interview also, that when we listen to the budget, it looks like as if a black and white picture is, turning into colorful picture. And India stands strong when there are so many countries facing so many monetary challenges. And otherwise, as we have heard, India stands strong with at least a very happy kind looking budget. Definitely, none of the budget is, 100% for everyone. There are always some places where we can improve, and there are also places where we can understand the budget and, organize the things in our hand, in our business or in our houses in that ways that we can get the maximum benefit of a particular budget. It's getting digital, as given in the budget. It's getting digital. So we would, actually like to listen to the speaker first about what all he has to say, and definitely in the end, as said, we will come back with whatever queries we have and whatever we want to know more from Tanuji. So thank you very much, and all the best to the entire team for such a wonderful, initiative on budget.
Thank you, SMA Chairperson Jc Agrawal, for enlightening and motivating us. Now it's time to hear from our Zone President, JCI Senator Namrata Joshi ma'am. I would like to extend a warm invitation for you to address our audience, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Naveen ji. Thank you so much, Sandeep ji, for calling me for this budget session. Thank you, Tanuj ji, the great speaker of this session. मैं यहाँ पे रघु जी को भी अभिनंदन करना चाहूँगी, ये हमारे पिलर्स हमारे साथ में इस सेशन में. थैंक यू सो मच द इंटायर टीम ऑफ JCI जयपुर ओएसिस फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग दिस बजट सेशन. स्पाइट ऑफ ऑल दिस, हम ये बताना चाहेंगे सभी से, क्योंकि खाली हम इंडिया की बात कर रहे हैं, बजट की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हम अपने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी, JCI में भी, हम अपने अपने हर लोकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी, हम सभी लोकल प्रेसिडेंट्स को भी इंसिस्ट करते हैं कि वो अपना बजट तैयार करें. तो ये हम बजट जो हम देख रहे हैं, शायद ये हम यही प्रोसीजर्स हैं जो हम अपने लोकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी फॉलो करते हैं, ताकि एक स्मूथ ईयर को हम लीड कर सके. प्रेसिडेंट्स को भी ना कोई आगे कोई दिक्कत या कोई प्रॉब्लम ना आए, और हर एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के मेंबर्स को मालूम रहे कि हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, हमारे चैप्टर में कितना फंड है, और हम अपने जो एक साल का जो ड्यूरेशन है, इसको हम कैसे निकाल सकते हैं. तो एज पर द बजट की बात करें तो मैंने ये JCI के बारे में आप सबको बताया है. तो बजट क्या होता है? बजट एक फाइनेंशियल डॉक्यूमेंट रहता है. इट्स फ्यूचर प्रोजेक्ट्स, जो फ्यूचर इनकम्स और एक्सपेंसेस है, ये सब हमें बताती हैं. अगर सिंप्लीफाई वे में बताए तो बजट इज अ प्लान फ्यूचर सेविंग्स और स्पेंडिंग है, एज वेल एज ए प्लान्ड इनकम एंड एक्सपेंसेस हैं. अगर हम बजट को बेसिकली हम अगर सिंप्लीफाई करें तो 3 पॉइंट्स पे डिस्कशन होते हैं बजट में, कि भारत में कितना पैसा आने वाला है या स्पेंड होने वाला है, या अगले साल में हमारा कितना फोकस रहेगा, यानी कि अप्रैल 2023 की बात करें, 2024 की बात करें, तो ये सब अगले साल का फोकस हमारी इस सब बजट में 3 पॉइंट्स पे हमारा बजट बनता है कि अब आप हमें बजट के बारे में और क्या क्या बताने वाले हैं. थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन JCI जयपुर ओएसिस.
Thank you, ZP ma'am, for being with us. Your insights and experience were truly enlightening and provided valuable perspective to us. I would now invite JC Swati Chhabra to introduce our speaker of this budget talk, JC Adv Tanuj Agrawal.
It's a great privilege to introduce our speaker today, Jc Tanuj Agrawal, a renowned Supreme Court lawyer. He has a long history of winning landmark cases. Jc Tanuj Agrawal is not only a brilliant legal mind, but he is also a chartered accountant, cost and management accountant, and a company secretary. He is gifted with the art of simplifying complex legal concepts and has a powerful presence in his courtroom. Jc Tanuj Agrawal served in different positions in many professional and social associations. He has served as the president of JCI Jaipur Oasis in the year 2020. He has also served as a speaker at many seminars and conferences and has contributed many articles on taxation, corporate and business laws, succession and inheritance law, etc. We welcome you, sir. I hand over the floor to you for you to enlighten us about the Union Budget 2023 and 24.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction of mine, JC Swati Chhabra ji. Let me share my screen. Chief guest of today's session, JC Namrata Joshi ji, President Zone 5 JCI India. SMA Chairman, Guest of Honor, JC Agrawal ji. What a coincidence that Zone 5 President, SMA Chairman, and our Honorable Finance Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, all our ladies, see the women power. And my introduction was also given by a powerful lady, First Lady of JCI Jaipur Oasis. My brother, younger brother, JC Sandeep Chhabra, President of JCI Jaipur Oasis. My younger brother, JC Naveen Chawla, Project Director of today's session. My elder brother, JC Raghu Kedia, Law Mentor of JCI Jaipur Oasis. All my fellow JCs, brothers and sisters present here. A very good evening to one and all present here. Friends, on 1st Feb, budget was announced by Honorable FM Nirmala Sitharaman ji. And in the evening, two friends, businessmen, met together. One was sad. The other one asked him, "Why are you so sad?" He said, "This was supposed to be an election budget just before elections of 2024. And we were expecting so much from the FM. But what she has given to us, hardly peanuts. That's why I am sad." He said to the other person, but why are you so happy? Why are you not so sad? He said, इस बार बजट में कुछ दिया चाहे नहीं दिया, लेकिन कुछ लिया भी नहीं हमसे. So that's why I am very happy. नहीं तो हर बार बजट में कुछ ना कुछ ये ले लेते हैं. So let's start. Is my PPT visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. I begin with some basic concepts. What is tax? I'll not take much time, I'll rush through. Tax is the cost of civilization which is collected by the government, collected by the state, collected by the king from the people for the benefit of the state at large. It is collected more from the rich people and expended more towards the poor segment of the society. What is law? Law is the intent of the legislature, of the parliament, of the government, of the lawmaker, of the state, which is expressed in writing, in written form. Though language has its own limitation, this is the best available medium. How a tax law should be? This question was answered 400 years ago by Privy Council, House of Lords. What they said, a tax law should be, there are three ingredients of a good tax law. First, it should be simple to understand, so that a common man, the common taxpayer, can understand it easily. This was the first one. The second one, frequent changes as far as possible should be disregarded. There should not be future changes. Otherwise, what will happen? Learn, unlearn, relearn, and it is very cumbersome for the taxpayers at large. And third, it should provide a relief or provide a remedy to the mischief caused by the earlier law. So these are the three main ingredients of a good tax law. As far as the first two ingredients are concerned, in India, the tax laws are complicated and there are frequent changes. Now, how tax should be collected? In this manner from the taxpayer? No. The answer was given 2000 years ago by Kautilya. He said, just like a humble honeybee collects nectar from flower without damaging it, government or state or king should collect taxes from its citizens, from its taxpayers in this manner only, without harming them, without damaging them. Laws in India. The Constitution of India is the supreme law. It is the mother of all laws. And any law which ultraviolates the Constitution of India is void. Article 265 of the Constitution of India provides that no tax can be levied or collected unless by the authority of law. Now, what is budget? Our ZP ma'am, Namrata Joshi ma'am, has explained this in very detail. Just like we have budget for our country, we have budget for our business, we have budget for our house, we have budget for our JC's chapters. So budget is what? It is expressed in financial terms. It is an operational plan of the period or year to come. This was the 9th budget of Modi government, first budget of Amrit Kaal, as mentioned by ZP ma'am. And this is the last budget before 2024 elections. Next year there will be no budget, just vote of account due to elections. And this time India ranked 5 in the largest economy in GDP terms. Earlier the rank was 10th. The focus is on middle class. Why middle class? Because these are the prospective voters and youth. So this is not the case with Modi government. Every government does this. These are some of the budget statistics. That our total budget size is 41,87,000 crores, in which the revenue receipts are 23,48,000 crores. These are the revised estimates for 2023. If you can see from this trend, our country, India, is progressing. The figures are always higher than the last year figures. As said by Meeta Agrawal ma'am, our country is strongest as far as concerned, the neighboring countries are concerned, financial advice. So I consider this really Amrit Kaal. From 2022 to 2030, at least this decade is concerned, this is a golden period of India going on. We are happy and blessed to witness this Amrit Kaal, particularly this decade of 2022 to 2030. These are the tax collections. See that the direct taxes revenue and indirect taxes revenue all are in increasing trend. Where our countries nearby are facing tough challenges. So let's come to the tax proposals. I begin with the indirect taxes first, because in indirect taxes there are not much changes. Because the GST Council recommendations are implemented by way of circulars, notifications around the year. And only the changes which are supposed to be in the Act, CGST Act, IGST Act, SGST Act that are routed through these budget proposals. So let's discuss the GST tax collection. In January 2023, this was the second highest collection as far as month is concerned, 1.56 lakh crores from GST. Our GDP rate, growth rate is fixed around 7%, but there is increasing trend as far as the tax collections are concerned. The reason is the taxpayers base has increased. Government has put much restrictions on the input tax credit. Earlier, when the GST law came in 2017, they promised it will be seamless credit available. But now they have diluted it. Much scams related to fake invoices, 100 crores, sometimes we had 250 crores, 500 crores have been unearthed by the GST tax department. And department now is very active. They have become intelligent due to trainings and education, and they are very active, particularly the central GST department. And that is the reason why they have contributed much to the rising tax collections. So coming to the first amendment, proposed amendment, this is a sign of relief. It is a welcome amendment as far as the registration requirements under GST are concerned. So what they have proposed, if any person is dealing in wholly exempted goods or services, or goods or services which are not liable to tax, 100% wholly, then it is not liable to take GST registration. Earlier, there was an interplay between the sections. In case of interstate supply or reverse charge mechanism, they have to get registrations. But now the government has clarified, and that too with retrospective effect from 1st July 2017, way back when GST was implemented. They have said, no, these persons are not liable to take registrations and they are not liable to pay any RC. If any person is already registered, though he is not required to get himself registered, he has to discharge the RCM liability. In case he do not want to discharge the RCM liability, then he has to surrender his or her registration. The second amendment, proposed amendment, is with respect to composition taxpayers, small taxpayers, MSME taxpayers. Up till now, they were not allowed to trade on through e-commerce operators. But now the government has allowed them. They said now they can do intra-state trade, not interstate trade, only intra-state trade within the same state. And that too only of goods, not of services. So subject to this condition, e-commerce operators, taxpayers, they have been allowed to remain under composition and trade through e-commerce operator. It shall be a difficult task for the e-commerce operator. He has to design its systems in such a way so as to give effect to this. So this proposed amendment is due to the GST Council recommendations. The next proposed amendment is with respect to ITC restriction in case of corporate social responsibility, CSR. So earlier we advised that you can take credit because there is no direct benefit, but indirect benefit is there. Because the CSR expenditure, because there is a business, there is CSR. And our review was also supported by AAR, Advanced Authority Ruling, Telangana, order dated 28 October 2022. What they said, as far as CSR expenditure is concerned, it is mandatory under the Companies Act. And in case default is there, heavy penalty of rupees 1 crore has to be imposed on the company. So, if any company incurs CSR expenditure, maybe on goods or services, then input tax credit it can take because it is in course of furtherance of business. But now the government in this proposed amendment says no, you cannot do this. Even under the Income Tax Act law, this CSR expenditure is not allowable as deduction. So now they have blocked the credit of goods and services involved in CSR from a future date yet to be notified. But now the question arises, whether can CSR expenditure credit be taken from 1st July 2017 when GST was implemented till the notified date, the future date? Yes, it can be taken because this amendment will be prospective. Any amendment which increases the output tax liability, maybe through outward supply or restrictions on ITC, that cannot be retrospective in nature. So this credit can be taken up till the notified date, but not after that. One more ITC restriction is there in case of non-payment to supplier within 180 days from the date of issue of invoice. Earlier, the provision was it has to be added to the output tax liability. Now they have said no, the ITC has to be reversed with interest. And again, credit can be taken, input tax credit can be taken when the payment is made to the supplier. This was zero alignment with the return forms. So one more important amendment proposed is, there is one Schedule 3 which says there are some supplies which are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. These are outside the purview of GST. Earlier, when GST was implemented, there were confusion amongst the tax fraternity, taxpayers, as well as the tax department about international trade. If a person is resident in India, he is sitting in India, and he is importing from outside taxable territory and exporting to outside taxable territory, the goods are not coming in India. For example, if a person imports goods from Japan and without coming to India, he directly exports it to USA, and he is sitting in India. So whether this transaction is liable to tax, liable to GST in India or not. So government said no, this transaction is not liable to tax. It is neither supply of goods nor supply of services, falling under entry 7, Schedule 3. The second was, when goods are imported from a foreign country in India, they have to be supposed to be kept in a custom bonded warehouse before clearance for home consumption, when bill of entry is filed and custom duty is paid. So if before clearance of goods for home consumption, if these are exported to another country outside India, whether this transaction will be liable to tax in India under GST or not, the government again clarified no. This is neither supply of goods nor of services. The third transaction was IC sales. Huge confusion was there up till 2018, whether when the goods are imported from outside taxable territory to India, and during the movement of goods, the documents of title to the goods are transferred in favor of another person in outside India. So whether this transaction of IC sales is covered under GST ambit or not. The government again clarified in 2018, no, this is neither supply of goods nor of services. But what the government did in 2018, they mentioned a particular date, 1st Feb 2019. They said from 1st Feb 2019, these three transactions are not neither supply of goods nor supply of services outside the GST ambit. But now the confusion arose. What about the period from 1st July 2017 when GST was implemented till 31st of January 2019? There was huge confusion. Government department, the government officials were saying since this amendment is from 1st Feb 2019, before that it was taxable. Now in this budget, the government said now this amendment will apply retrospectively right from 1st July 2017 when GST was implemented. So now all those notices have gone. This is a welcome amendment from the side of the government. Government also clarified that if any tax has already been paid on these three transactions up till 31st Jan 2019, then the tax shall not be refundable. जो दे दिया वो refund नहीं मिलने वाला. Another provision of ITC reversal in case of common credit, which is attributable both to taxable goods as well as exempt goods or services. Then a common ITC has to be reversed through a particular formula. And in that formula, when we add exempt supplies, we have also add sale of land and building. So here in this, the 8A, the supply of warehouse goods before clearing for home consumption has also to be added. This will increase the amount of ITC which has to be reversed in case of common inputs. Time limit of filing of GST returns. Earlier there was no time limit. You can file for 2017-18 as well. But now the government has provided a restriction. They said from 3 years from the due date of furnishing of return, these returns cannot be filed. Return of outward supplies, summary return of outward inward, annual returns, TCS returns. One can only file up to 3 years from the due date, not thereafter. Penalty on e-commerce operator. Since composition taxpayers have been allowed to do intrastate trade of goods through e-commerce operator has to be vigilant, and in case he commits some of the breach specified here, like he allows intrastate trade or trade by unregistered person other than exempted person, then he shall be liable to penalty. What is the penalty of amount? It is 10,000 rupees or the amount of tax involved, whichever is higher. Decriminalization. Some petty offences under the GST Act, they have now been proposed to be decriminalized. This is a welcome amendment, and this also involves time of courts. So it is a welcome amendment. If such small petty offences have been decriminalized, only penalty will be there and no imprisonment. Now the prosecution limits have also been enhanced. Earlier the tax evasion limit was 1 crore. Now the government has proposed to increase this limit to 2 crores. Plus, please mind, fake invoices cases are not covered here. Because fake invoices is a very big threat for the economy. Uska pura chain chalta hai. One issues fake invoice, then the party who receives, he gets input tax credit. So now what is the present limit? Up to 5 crores of tax evasion, up to 5 years of imprisonment or fine or both. And from 2 to 5 crores, up to 3 years. In case of fake invoices, it is 1 year. Compounding of offenses. Now, earlier the compounding charges were 50% to 150%, which have been slashed to 25% to 100%, except in the case of fake invoices. This is also a welcome amendment. Consent-based sharing of information. Now, on the GST portal, there is some trade secrets, the trade information available whenever the assessee or his supplier files his or his return. Because what is the information of supplier? From where, who are your customers? From whom you are purchasing? At what rate you are purchasing? At what rate you are selling? These are all confidential information. So what the government said, कि there may be a problem with the government if this type of information is being shared with the tax department, maybe between GST or income tax or MCA or with some other agency. So what the taxpayer may do, he may ask for the compensation. Hello? Yes. So it is now provided in the act to obtain consent before sharing of information, just in order to safeguard the interest of the government. Interest on delayed refund, they will prescribe a procedure how to compute this. This is a small amendment. And this is the last amendment of GST law, transportation of goods outside India. In case where both supplier and recipient were in India, but the place of supply of goods was outside India, the credit was not available. Now the government has clarified it. Now ITC can be claimed. So these were the indirect tax proposals related to GST. Now coming to the direct tax proposals in income tax. There are around 122 amendments, proposed amendments. And I may not be able to deal with all of them due to paucity of time, but I will touch upon all the major amendments. Firstly, there is no change in the income tax slab rates as far as the old regime is concerned. It is same. The government wants to discourage the old scheme in which deductions are being claimed. Due to the reason that many fake deductions have been claimed by the assessees, and it is very difficult for the government to plug it. So that's why the government wants the assessees to shift to the new tax regime where the tax slabs are low, but the deductions are very minimal. So this is the old tax regime, no change. As far as the new tax regime, they have made the new tax regime now more lucrative. Earlier, see on the left side, it is the earlier existing provisions, and on the right side, it is the proposed. So earlier the limit was 2.5 lakh rupees nil tax. Now they have increased it to 3 lakhs. And they have also increased the slabs and reduced the tax rates. And they have also increased the 87A rebate. Up till 7 lakhs of income, they may give a straight rebate of 25,000 tax rebate from tax. So that's why she announced in the budget कि अब 7 लाख रुपए तक के लिए कोई टैक्स नहीं है. So this is due to this rebate 87A. Now one more important amendment is there, and it will have far-reaching repercussions in the time to come. They said the new tax regime shall be the default tax regime. Earlier the old one was the default tax regime. Now surcharge also they have reduced. What is the purpose behind reducing the surcharge? Whether to give benefit to high-income individuals like Mr. Ambani or Mr. Adani. No, not Mr. Adani. उसको तो बेचारे का पहले ही बहुत नुकसान हो गया. So what the government said, FM also said in his budget speech, that tax in India, the highest tax rate is 42.744% if the surcharge is concerned and education cess is concerned, which is a very high rate. It is the highest tax rate probably in the whole world. So what she said, let us reduce it to 39% by way of reduction in surcharge in order to attract foreign investments, foreigners investing in India. जिस कंट्री में रेट बहुत ज्यादा होगा वहां कोई क्यों जाना चाहेगा. So this was the purpose behind this amendment. But this reduced surcharge benefit is only available in case of new regime. Please mind, not in the old regime. So now effectively the highest tax rate of 42.744% has been reduced to 39%. Exemptions and deductions are not available in new regime. Now they have made a change here. Standard deduction in case of salaried employees. It was not available in old regime, but now it is available. These amendments, unless otherwise stated by me, are applicable from financial year 23-24, not from next year, because for the next year the budget has already came in 2022. So if you are filing returns for next year in July or September 2023, the earlier provisions will apply. These provisions will apply from 2024, after 31st March 2024 for financial year 23-24, unless otherwise stated. One more welcome amendment is there, key deduction of 80JJAA in case of manufacturing concerns, employing additional employee costs. Now this has also been allowed in case of new regime. So this is a welcome amendment. बहुत लोगों को तो पता ही नहीं है 80JJAA क्या है, and they are eligible for its deduction, and this is a huge amount. Tax rates in case of firm and local authority it is same, 30% flat. In case of domestic company, if the turnover is below rupees 400 crores, 25%, otherwise 30% plus surcharge. In case of domestic companies engaged in manufacturing, it is 15% under section 115 BAB and 22% in some cases, specified cases. There are some restrictions. I will not go in detail. This is same. There is no change. Just for the benefit of the August gathering, I am highlighting, since I have touched the personal income tax rates as well. So in case of other than domestic company, means foreign company, the tax rate is 50% for specific royalty income and technical services income. Otherwise, it is 40% plus surcharge. Cess is 4% of tax plus surcharge. Now coming to an important amendment in case of MSME. The government focus is on MSME, middle class, youth, women. So the first amendment, this is a petty amendment in case of presumptive taxation for MSME. Now in case of small businesses, up till now up to a turnover of rupees 2 crores, they were allowed not to maintain books of accounts, not to get books of accounts audited, but to declare their income on presumptive basis of 6% of bank turnover and 8% of cash turnover, provided that their gross turnover is below rupees 2 crores. In case of profession, they have to declare 50% on gross receipts up to a turnover of 50 lakh rupees. Now what the government has proposed, in case of business, the turnover limit of 2 crores may be treated as 3 crores, provided that the cash receipts is not less than 5% of the total turnover, or if we take it otherwise, the bank receipts is more than 95% of the turnover. In case of profession, the 50 lakh limit has been increased to 75 lakhs. Condition is same, only 5% cash turnover allowed. If your turnover is cash component of your turnover is more, then the earlier limit of 2 crores or 50 lakhs, as the case may be, shall apply. So this is an amendment also effective from financial year 23-24. Now, but one thing is there, small businesses are also maintaining books of accounts. They are registered under GST. For GST purpose, they have to maintain books of accounts. And also for their internal purposes, कि किसको कितना पैसा देना है, किससे कितना पैसा लेना है, they are already maintaining. But the government has given this option. Now, one more very important appointment, and I consider this amendment is the most crucial amendment. What they have done, they have proposed, there is one section 43B, in which says deduction of expenditure can only be allowed on actual payment and not on accrual basis. So in order to promote small and medium enterprises, micro and small enterprises, medium enterprises are not covered here. The government says that the payment to them, if you make them pay payment actually, then you can claim deduction, otherwise not. And the limit of filing, the due date of filing of return of income, that is also not applicable. You have to make the payment within 31st March. So what the MSMED Act 2006 says, it says that if you have no agreement with MSME, then 50 days period is there to make the payment from the date of invoice. And in case agreement is there, 45 days period has to be taken or lower period. If it is more than 45 days, highest cap is 45 days. What is micro? Investment of less than 1 crore, turnover of less than 5 crores. These both conditions have to be taken into account. This is plus here. In case of small, plant and machinery investment less than 10 crores and turnover up to rupees 50 crores. JC Naveen Chawla is putting his hand on his head. ये तो सोच रहा नवीन इससे ही सोच रहा है कि मैं तो कवर ही नहीं होता, मेरा टर्नओवर ज्यादा है इससे. So these provisions are for MSMEs. Now the industry, the MSME fraternity will face huge practical difficulties in implementation, because making of law is one thing and implementing it is another thing. Some suggestions for buyers. In case of buyers who are purchasing from MSME, they should contact all existing suppliers and ascertain whether they are registered under MSME or not. And they should also ask their MSME suppliers to mention about their MSME status in the invoice itself. And they should enter into agreement. 30 days, the limit will increase. Otherwise, it is 15 days. So if agreement is there, you can extend the credit period to 45 days. And they have to be very cautious in Feb and March. All payments of MSME, particularly MSMEs, they have to be settled. बड़ाओं का आप लार्ज एंटरप्राइजेस का रोक लीजिए, लेकिन इनका तो देना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, you cannot claim the deduction. And some suggestions from the supplier for the suppliers. If they are not registered under MSME, obtain register under MSME. Intimate all your existing customers about your MSME status and quote your MSME status in all your invoices, email signatures, letter pads, official communication and website. I think a day will come when large enterprises, maybe I may be wrong, but large enterprises will refrain from dealing with MSME sector due to such huge restrictions. Only MSME will deal with MSME and large enterprises will deal in large enterprises. The government should think through, because there is a separate act of MSME for taking care of MSMEs. And in each and every law, and particularly the taxation law, in order to benefit the MSMEs, if these provisions are being inserted, then it makes the law more complicated. And theory is something else and practical implication is something else. Ground reality is something else. So let's go to the next amendment. In case of cooperative society, if they withdraw cash, TDS has to be deducted. Now this limit has been increased from 1 crore to 3 crores. This is a welcome amendment. In case of new cooperative society, they engage in manufacturing. Now the government has provided a concessional tax rate of 15%, just to provide a level playing field with companies, because companies are already having this benefit of lower tax rate in case of manufacturing. So now cooperative societies will also enjoy. In case of startups, earlier the incorporation date was 1st April 23. Now the government has extended to 1st April 24. And what they have done, they have also increased the loss limit, the years limit. Earlier it was 7 years, now it is 10 years. In case startups incurs a loss and it wants to carry forward it to subsequent years. The condition of 51% of the shareholding is not there in case of startups. So since there was under 80 IAC, the limit was 10 years. Now they have aligned this limit. And in both the cases, now the limit is 10 years. In case of primary agriculture cooperative societies, PACS, PCRDS, the limit of giving cash loan and deposits in cash and repayment was 20,000, which has now been increased to 2 lakhs because they deal with the rural sector, agriculture sector. So this is a welcome amendment. In case of securities premium amount taken by a company from non-resident, where the value per share is more than the fair market value of share, the excess was chargeable to tax. But that only in case of resident shareholder. So now the government has realized this mistake and they have plucked this revenue leakage, and non-residents are also covered here. In case of appeals, there are huge pendency of appeals, particularly at the commissioner appeals level. In the COVID period, only 11,000 appeals have been decided. So in order to reduce the pendency of appeals, particularly the small appeals, what they have done, they have proposed to deploy 100 new joint commissioners for disposal of small appeals. Appeals will be faceless and the limit they will provide in the delegated legislation by way of rules. In case of capital gains, when you sell a house property, purchase another, or you sell any other property other than a house property and purchase a residential house property, you can claim deduction. But what the government has done now, they have provided a cap, an upper cap of rupees 10 crores. What was happening in India, people were misusing it. They have sold some asset or some property, and what they did, they purchased a huge chunk of land. And in that land, they constructed a small portion of four-room house and said, we have purchased the house and we can claim deduction. So government says no, there shall be an upper cap limit of 10 crores. Politicians को इससे बहुत नुकसान होने वाला है, क्योंकि इसका benefit वही लेते थे. TDS rate on EPF withdrawal in non-paying cases has been reduced to 20% from earlier 30%. Government said common income tax return forms to be introduced soon for the convenience and benefit of taxpayers. But how far this will simplify, that time will tell. They also said that the redressal system of the government, the grievance redressal system, it has to be strengthened, and they will be more selective in selecting returns for review or for scrutiny. Now, this amendment is a major amendment as far as the insurance companies are concerned. We have seen on the budget day, the insurance sector shares were down. LIC and all the big companies, insurance companies, all were trading in red. The reason was this: if the premium of an insurance policy is more than rupees 5 lakh, then on its maturity, the surplus will be taxable and not exempt, as it was earlier exempt. So this will apply to insurance policies purchased on or after 1st April 2023. Still, if Sandeep wants to purchase, he can purchase till 31st March 2023 and enjoy the tax exemption. In case of leave encashment, in case of non-government employees, the limit was 3 lakhs. And this limit was 20 years back in 2002. Now what the government says, the salaries have increased, inflation has increased in 20 years. So now this limit has also to be increased, and they have proposed the limit from 3 lakhs to 25 lakhs increment. My suggestion is to the government is there are many such limits, and there should be a particular mechanism so that these monetary limits are revised periodically on an automated basis. Online games are now taxable. New section 115BBJ has been proposed to be incorporated in the Act with effect from assessment year 24-25, meaning thereby financial year 23-24. And the net winnings after deducting loss. It is good that the government realizes that इसमें loss भी होता है. So the net winnings will now be taxable at the rate of 30% in the manner to be prescribed. And similarly, TDS has also to be deducted. TDS rate is 30%, and the online game operator has to deduct TDS of its users. In case he withdraws from the user account, TDS has to be deducted. And if there is no withdrawal and the balance is lying at the year end on 31st March on the balance line, what is the balance? And in case he withdraws subsequently, since the TDS has been already been deducted on the balance, thereafter no TDS will be deducted. In case of winning from lottery, puzzles, card games, horse races, TDS was to be deducted at the above 10,000 rupees. But there was a lacuna in the law which these players were taking undue benefit. What they were doing, they were splitting the lottery amount or the winning amount. So in each case, the amount was below rupees 10,000. So there was no requirement of deducting tax at source. And there was no requirement of withholding tax. The government has plugged this practice, and they said no. In a year, if it is rupees 10,000 or more in aggregate, then you have to deduct TDS. Some double deductions, some people were claiming double deductions, and courts have also allowed. What is this double deduction? In case of interest paid on purchase or reconstruction of immovable property, house property, people were claiming deduction under house property head as well as in capital gains head when it was ultimately sold. The interest income, the finance cost was also deducted as cost of improvement. Now the government has clarified, no, you cannot do so. You can claim only one. Either you claim under house property head or under capital gains head. Double deduction is not allowed. So what one can do, tax planning can be done. In case of vacant land, since house property head deduction was not being claimed, so this can now be claimed as cost of improvement. And similarly, in case of excess interest, only there was a limit of 2 lakh rupees on interest to be claimed under house property head. The excess can now be claimed as cost of improvement under Capital Gains Act. In case of intangible assets like goodwill, which was self-generated, if it was sold, what was the problem? There was no method of determining the cost. And what the courts and tribunals have felt, if there is no mechanism to determine the cost, then how capital gain can be computed, how the profit can be computed. And since there is no mechanism to compute the profit, in absence of computation of cost, that particular transaction is not liable to tax. Now, what the government did, they said in cases where in case of intangible assets self-acquired, if you cannot compute the cost shall be treated as nil. Now, what will happen? There is a formula now given by the government if the cost is nil, so capital gains can now be chargeable to tax. In case of tour operators or overseas tour packages, earlier the TCS limit was 5%. Now this has been increased from 1st July 2023 to 20%. In case of joint development agreement between landowner and builder, there was a lacuna in the law. It says in case of landowner, what is the taxable amount? Taxable amount, firstly, it has to be in the year of in which completion certificate is received from the competent authority. And what is taxable? Full value of consideration, what is it? It is the stamp duty value, the DLC value of his share of property received from the builder. That is the construction amount. The construction square feet, converted in terms of stamp duty value, plus any consideration received in cash. Now the word used in the statute books was cash. Now the people were misutilizing these provisions. They said that only cash is mentioned. If it is through bank, through any other mode or in kind, that is not covered. So now the government has plugged this loophole in the law and they have added these words. This one more amendment is there, electronic gold conversion. This is a new concept. EGC. What they said, SEBI has already come with the regulations in this regard last year in 2022. Under Income Tax Act, now they have provided the mechanism. So what is this scheme? If you have physical gold with you, you can convert it into electronic form through electronic gold receipt. And vice versa also you can do. If you have EGR, electronic gold receipt, then you can convert it into physical gold at any point of time. So what the government says, this cannot be regarded as transfer because the hand is the same, only the form is changing. आपने पैसा एक जेब से निकाल के दूसरी जेब में रख लिया या 200 रुपए के नोट की जगह 100 के नोट कर लिए, तो this is not income. So government says this shall not be regarded as transfer, and only when these asset gold receipt when it is ultimately sold to a third person, only then the capital gains will arise, otherwise not. And the cost of holding as well as the period of holding of the earlier form shall be taken into account while computing the capital gains. Market linked debentures. These market linked debentures are there is one underlying principal asset, derivative or security under it. So that principal is liable to tax at the rate of slab rate of 30%, 20% as the case may be. But these debentures were taxable at a concessional rate of 10% without any taxation in the case of long-term capital gain. Now the government said no, this thing cannot happen. It shall now be taxable as short-term capital gain at the normal slab rates. People were taking big advantage of this provision. Now they cannot do it. In case of interest on listed securities bonds in demat form to resident Indian, there was an exemption to deduct TDS. So these companies, they were not deducting TDS, and what the people were doing, they were not offering it in their return of income also. Now government want to curb this revenue leakage practice. They said no, now TDS has to be deducted. So once the TDS is deducted, the income is under the income tax network and it cannot be avoided. So that is the reason why this provision has proposed to be increased, has proposed to be in the statute books. Now one more important amendment is there with regard to inventory valuation by cost accountant. In case of framing of assessment, the assessing of authorities, they take the help of some experts, like for special audit. If they think that there is complexity in the books of accounts or the nature of books of accounts is such, there is complexity, what they order a special audit by a chartered accountant. from the side of the department. So this provision is in similar lines. If they think there is some problem with the stock valuation, now they have been empowered, the assessing authorities, to direct inventory valuation by an independent cost accountant in their panel, and he will submit its report to the assessing officer and the assessing officer will consider that report, provide an opportunity of being heard to the assessee, and thereafter frame his or her assessment. The cost of this cost accountant valuation, this has to be borne by the department and not by the assessor. So this is a good thing, that cost has to be borne by the department. Otherwise, there will be a flood of valuations in inventory. Because generally, what the auditors say in their audit report, they say that valuation of inventories and the figure of inventory has been taken as certified by the management. In case of search and seizure, the income tax authorized officers who are conducting this search and seizure, they require the help of experts. Because now things are complicated. We are in technology world. So they require some data is on cloud. There some passwords have to be cracked and some data has to be retrieved, or some data has to be analyzed. So they require help of software and IT experts. So earlier they were having help of police officers and valuation officers in case of valuation. But now the provision has been inserted to take help of such experts, and they are duty bound because they will be in their panel to help the authorized officers in case of search and seizure. Like IT experts, foreign experts and कारपेंटर्स एंड लॉकस्मिथ्स, क्योंकि आजकल तो क्या है कि उसमें भी रहता है, तो ब्रेक कर दें उसको या फिर डिकोड कर दें डेटा को या पासवर्ड को. तो दैट्स व्हाई दिस प्रोविजन हैज बीन ब्रॉट इनटू द statute books. In case of reassessment proceedings, the time limit for filing of return has been increased to 3 months, and additional 15 days time limit has been provided in case of search and seizure. Because if after 15th of March, if search is conducted, department hardly gets any time to reopen the case. Otherwise, the year, that assessment year will get time barred. So the government realizes this practical difficulty and they have increased the time limit to further 15 days in case search is conducted after 15th of March. The time limit for completion of assessments has been increased from 12 months to 9 months because departmental officers were facing problems. The 9 months time limit is too less. So considering this, the government has proposed to increase the time limit. In case of transfer pricing, the time limit to furnish the reply was 30 days. Now the government says, no, we want to expedite the transfer pricing assessments and only 10 days shall be allowed. And if the assessee wants, he can apply in writing for further extension, but the extension cannot be given for more than 30 days. In case of, they have imposed a penalty for furnishing inaccurate particulars in case of some financial transactions, specified financial transactions on the institutions or persons who are liable to file these statements. The penalty is 50,000 or rupees 5,000 per transaction, which can also be recovered from the account holder in case he has given false information. In case of Benami Property Transactions Act 1998, there is a small amendment. Section 45 provides for appeal to the appellate tribunal against the order of the adjudicating authority. Now the time limit of 45 days as per the section, as per the law, it was 45 days from the date of order. Now the government has realized it should be 45 days from the date of receipt of order. Because there may be a time gap. हो सकता है कि उसको order ही 15 दिन बाद मिले तो खत्म ही हो जाएगा एक तरह से. And one more amendment is there with respect to jurisdiction of High Court in case of NRI. Because in NRI is not subject to jurisdiction of any High Court in India. So what they said, in such cases, the jurisdiction of the initiating officer shall be taken into account कि कौन सा High Court जाएगा. In case of TDS mismatches due to the accrual versus payment, you have booked your income on accrual basis, whereas your deductor has deducted your tax or withheld your tax on payment basis in subsequent year. Now it was very difficult. This is happening in case of contractors. Now this is very difficult for you to claim credit. What will happen if you claim credit in subsequent year when the TDS is being deducted? Then you have to also offer that income. And if you're not offering that income in your income tax return, what will happen? There will be a mismatch. And when there will be a mismatch, there will be demands and the notices. So in order to curb this, what the government has done, they have proposed one subclause 20 in section 155, which says that now you can apply to the assessing officer in such cases, but within 2 years from the end of the financial year in which TDS was deducted. Backward integration is already there. No, backward integration they have provided. Forward integration was also already there. कि आपका कोई earlier year का TDS है, you can claim in the current year, but not in subsequent year. Not subsequent year TDS you can claim. So now these provisions have been implemented, proposed to be implemented for the benefit of the taxpayers. In case of charitable trusts and institutions, there are various amendments, and the government is day by day going strict in case of charitable trusts and institutions, because उनको लगता है कि ये ज़्यादातर फर्जी काम यहीं पे होते हैं. So now only the trusts which are actually doing charity work or they are being registered. Otherwise, it is very difficult for them to comply with such provisions. So what are these provisions? I will quickly touch. How much time do I have, Naveen?
Sir, 5 more minutes.
Okay. I'll try to finish it within 5 minutes. In case of charitable trust, what trusts were doing? They have to apply their income in order to claim exemption. Now, what were they were doing? They were donating their funds to income to another trust. 85% donated, and they have taken 100% benefit. Now, the B trust, what it was doing? It was donating it to C trust, C to D, D to E, and practically government was government getting nothing. It was just a transaction. Now, no. If you donate your income to another trust, only 85% of deduction you can claim, not 100%. Secondly, the trust returns have to be filed within time. Otherwise, the exemption is gone. But now, last year, the government come out with a new concept of updated return, wherein on extra payment of tax, you can file your income tax return for 2 more years. So what were the trusts doing? They were filing their return and they were taking benefit of exemption for extended period. Now the government says no. You have to file within the year under section 139 is the technical term. Otherwise, you will not get the exemption. And application, what the trusts were doing, they were taking double benefit of application of income. For example, they were taking loans and borrowings and applying that loans on borrowings to their business activity or for their purpose, for their charitable purpose. They were taking, and when they were repaying that, also they were taking again benefit. So government says no, you can take one time. When you take loans and borrowings and you use that funds, we will not give you any deduction. Only when you repay the loan or borrowings, we will give you deduction. And that too, you have to pay within 5 years. In case of SEZ units, section 10AA benefit is there. Now the government says you have to file the return within time, because in some cases of section 80, this condition is there. If you are not filing return within time, you will not get this exemption benefit. And also one point was missing from the statute. In case of convertible foreign exchange, has to be received within 6 months from the year end. Deduction for donation to specified institutions. If you give donation to some specified institution, the donee gets some tax benefit under section 80G. Now, what the government says is following 3 funds proposed to be removed. They have removed 3 funds or institutions with effect from assessment year 24-25 from 80G exemption. If you donate to them, you will not get any deduction. What are these 3 institutions? This is the list. So this is self-explanatory, and this is all from my side. I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my views before the August gathering. And I am thankful to you all for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, Tanuj sir, for such an insightful topic that we have covered. Everything that could have possibly been covered in such a small time. So thanks a lot for that. Now we will take some questions. Mr. Sundar Vidhani has raised his hand. You may unmute yourself, sir.
थैंक यू. मेरा एक प्रश्न है कि एक प्रॉपर्टी जिसकी रजिस्ट्री 22 अप्रैल 2022 को हुई, लेकिन बायर ने 31 मार्च को ही उसका टीडीएस 1%, क्योंकि 50 लाख से ज्यादा की रजिस्ट्री थी तो 1% टीडीएस काट के टीडीएस जमा करा दिया. सारे पैसे की लेन देन 22 अप्रैल को हुई है, चेकों पे डेट 31 मार्च डली हुई है, रजिस्ट्री 22 को ही है, उससे पहले 1 रुपए की भी डीलिंग नहीं हुई है और कोई भी उससे पहले एग्रीमेंट नहीं हुआ है, रिटर्न एग्रीमेंट। इनकम टैक्स की रिटर्न ने उस रिटर्न को डिफॉल्टर डिक्लेयर किया है, इनवैलिड डिक्लेयर किया है, तो उसके लिए क्या रेमेडी है जिसने प्रॉपर्टी बेची है?
सर 22 अप्रैल 21 होगी, क्योंकि 22 अप्रैल 22 की रिटर्न तो अभी जाएगी बाद में।
सर 22 अप्रैल 22 की बाद में जाएगी ना, तो जो
अच्छा 31 मार्च 21 में। सो इस केस में क्या है कि सर आपको क्या करना था, व्हाइल फाइलिंग योर रिटर्न ऑफ इनकम, ये फॉरवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन तो आप कर सकते थे, आप उस टीडीएस को कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर लेते फॉर नेक्स्ट ईयर।
हाँ, तो क्या हुआ कि जैसे ही उन्होंने उसको डिफॉल्टर रिटर्न किया, हमने उसमें उसको रीफाइल करके उसको आगे कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर दिया।
आपके पास रिवाइज का टाइम था जब तक 31 दिसंबर 2022।
यस,
ठीक है, अब आपने उसको रिवाइज कर दिया, उस टीडीएस को आपने कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर लिया फॉर नेक्स्ट ईयर।
हाँ, लेकिन उसके बावजूद डिपार्टमेंट नहीं मान रहा है, बेंगलोर से तो बिना कोई रिप्लाई आता है कि अभी भी आपकी रिटर्न डिफेक्टिव है।
सो वैसे तो आपने टाइमली उसको रिवाइज कर दिया, और अगर डिपार्टमेंट नहीं मानता है देन यू कैन फाइल एन अपील against that order.
Another question. Sandeep Chavda ji has raised his hand.
Thank you, Naveen ji. Tanuj, we have really very interesting session. So I have a very simple question. Is there any change in the LUT compliance for the import and export in GSTN? Earlier we used to apply for LUT when we were getting forex.
No, LUT you have to apply on yearly basis and before 30 days from the year end. Like for the current financial year 22-23 आपने पहले ही ले लिया होगा, and for the next financial year 23-24 2nd of March 2024 online on the portal, and thereafter you will get it.
Okay, so no changes. This is as
no change.
Okay, all right, yeah, thank you.
Let's take another question from Raghu sir.
Hi Tanuj, very interesting session. Thank you. I have one query with respect to this TDS provisions which you mentioned on accrual basis. Can you elaborate? I mean, how this can be handled retrospectively, in the sense you mentioned that 2 years, even for the assessments which were done 2 years back, this should be adjusted, TDS on accrual. So can you please elaborate?
Yes, I will elaborate.
Provision.
So, Bhaiya, there are two ways. First was your TDS has been deducted earlier, but you have want to claim it in subsequent year. So if this is your case, you can carry forward your TDS credit. ये provision तो पहले से था. While filing your return of income, you have to carry forward that TDS credit to subsequent year. And in subsequent.
My query is that Vodafone deducted my TDS on the basis of accrual.
Okay.
But that was not invoiceable at all. Just on the basis of open purchase order, they deducted it on the basis of accrual in the month of March. They've been doing it repeatedly. And that I cannot claim it back.
Yes. Meaning thereby, for example, for financial year 21-22, you have they have deducted your TDS.
Right.
And you have declared that income in financial year 22-23. Am I correct?
No. See, I have not invoiced it at all. That is not invoiceable by me. I cannot bill that.
Reason being?
See, उन्होंने मेरे को 100 रुपए का परचेज ऑर्डर दिया, मैंने 90 रुपए का काम किया, उन्होंने TDS 100 रुपए पे काट लिया, मैं तो बिल 90 का ही लगाऊंगा.
So why they have deducted? Have you taken any confirmation or talked to them in this regard?
I have taken all the confirmation.
Whether they have deducted inclusive of GST? कि GST के component पे भी TDS deduct कर लिया?
नहीं, they have just deducted on the basis of open purchase order कि 100 रुपए का हमने PO इशू किया है सप्लायर को, तो सप्लायर अगर 80 का भी सामान प्रोवाइड करेगा, we don't care. We have if we assume that he will provide services for 20 rupees more, so basis of accrual they have deducted the TDS. However, since I have not provided any more services, so I cannot bill it.
See, interesting. So this is not the case of accrual or payment, because accrual पे होता तो फिर payment के time पे claim हो जाता. This is the case of excess deduction.
They say that they have done it on the provisions of accrual का जो provisions है उसके basis पे किया है, as per law.
So now what I suggest कि आप इसके अंदर because आपका GST से भी mismatch हो जाएगा GST turnover से, if you claim the entire amount. So, but what you have to do, you have to claim the entire TDS credit for 100 rupees, and whenever there is any query from the income tax department, you have to explain it, and there can also be a query from the GST department also. Why you have shown only 80 rupees in case of GST turnover and 100 rupees is appearing in form number 26 says. So you have to explain now to both the departments.
Explanation is one thing, how to get the money back?
So you have to claim the credit.
From where?
TDS credit in your income tax return.
जब वो AS26 वो तो मेरे उसमें रिफ्लेक्ट ही नहीं कर रहा है, तो मैं कैसे क्लेम करूंगा?
आपने कहा ना 100 रुपीस पर टैक्स डिडक्ट किया.
हाँ, वो उसमें आ रहा है वो. 26 क्लेम इट.
So you can claim it. There will be notices from both the departments, GST department as well as income tax department, for mismatch of turnover. So you have to explain to both the departments that this is the case. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आपको credit claim नहीं करनी. Credit is appearing in your 26As and you have to claim it because this is your credit. And what you can do, you can obtain a confirmation from Vodafone. Vodafone ने बताया ना आपने, from Vodafone also.
Confirmation. They are just mentioning that we have deducted it on the basis of accrual.
हाँ, तो this is the confirmation. This is the confirmation. You can also take your copy of account, like copy of ledger account. So this is the confirmation. So these documents you can supply it further to the GST department and the income tax department to explain your case. As far as the TDS credit is concerned, you can claim it.
Okay.
Why to lapse that credit?
That is my problem. That is my point. Why to let go? Because that's a lot of money.
So both the departments you have to satisfy, not only the income tax department, but GST department is also involved now.
Understood.
Okay. Tanuj sir, I have two questions. First, regarding ATJJAA, what is that? Can you explain that?
So ATJJAA is deduction of additional employee cost.
Yes.
So what the government did, they have to generate employment. This is the job of the government to give employment to its citizens. So, but there is problem with the government कि उनके पास में resources limited है. So if the government job is done by another person, for example an industry or you are providing employment. So what the government says कि we provide you an incentive, a deduction of ATJJAA in case of additional employees cost.
So that is basically between a company and government. It is only
No.
to...
It is related with your additional employees, but there are some conditions. First condition is कि वो PF में registration होना चाहिए, PF वाला employee होगा. Second, that employee should be employed for at least 240 days in a year. Thirdly, you have to obtain a certificate of a CA in this regard. Form number 10 something कुछ है. And thereafter you can claim that credit. Can you wait for a minute? I can open it on my computer.
Employee cost we would take in salary or wages already, no?
No. You have to claim in your P&L account. For example, your expenditure after deducting the additional employee cost is rupees 100. So this is additional you can claim. This is additional deduction you are claiming. Your P&L account will not be affected, but in your computation of income under Chapter 6A, after a gross total income, you can claim. And what is the beauty of this budget is they have also provided the deduction under the new regime as well. Up till now, it was not available. For financial year 22-23, you cannot claim. But for the next financial year, beginning from 1st April 23, you can claim.
That means the salary of additional employees would be, benefiting twice. First in P&L account and then
Yes.
Okay, that's great. My second question is, sir, regarding the MSME, is it like MSME to MSME also, the 30 days?
Yes, it is also there.
So if I am an MSME and...
30 days, 45 days and 15 days is the limit.
15 days for no agreement and 45 days with agreement.
Yes.
So if I am an MSME and I am supplying my goods to various people, so they have to give the payment to me in 15 days. Otherwise, they cannot claim. Is it so?
Yes. But the practical problem here is that they are, because they are MSMEs, if they are having turnover up to rupees 2 crores or 3 crores in case of receipt, then they must be filing their return of income under section 4480 presumptive taxation.
8%.
And if they are filing 8%, and if they are filing their return of income under that section, then there is no requirement. So क्योंकि उनका expenditure count नहीं होगा, and because they are under presumptive taxation, they can declare 8%. So this is in case they are not filing their return of income under section 4480, then they will not get a deduction. And if your money is stuck, then you can file MSME case under the MSME ID Act with MSEFC.
Okay.
And they provide interest 3 times the bank rate.
Okay.
And they have to pay. You just have to file the case online and offline and pay their fees. The fees is 500 to 2000.
So a GST invoice is also considered an agreement?
No.
So if I am supplying the goods with GST invoice, then the buyer is bound to pay in 15 days.
Yes, but if in your invoice you have written either on the back or at the bottom, the payment terms and condition is 60 days, for example, or 45 days, then the 45 days period will apply. Even if you mention 2 months credit is there, then also 45 days will apply, because that limit cannot exceed 45 days. But you have no agreement, you have also not mentioned in your invoice, then it is 15 days.
Okay. I would like to have an appointment with you for further explanation upon this. How personally I can use this particular clause.
Which clause? MSME?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to do a personal one-to-one with you upon it.
You may do anytime.
So, apart from that, is there any other question, please? All right. So I request Jc Raghu Kedia to give a brief remark about this session.
What a wonderful session this has been, Tanuj. It has been very, very elaborate, very detailed, and very, thoroughly studied. We all know your intelligence, and we all know you have a very good expertise in the subject.
Raghuji, before we move forward, can I take the privilege?
Please go ahead, ma'am.
I heard almost the full session. I wouldn't I must congratulate the speaker, Tanuji. He has made, I must say, a lot of efforts for every minute detail and so beautifully with his PowerPoint presentation. And after completion, I was listening to the question and the answer session also. Like, he was really along with the audience, and there are, I think, 2 audience who are going to connect him in future. So I would say, whatever the presence of audience here is, they were all together in this beautiful session. And I will say that it was a very successful session because of such a wonderful speaker and the team Jaipur Oasis who has taken this initiative. So I really thoroughly loved it. And I would come with more questions after this session with Tanuji, maybe later on, because right now I will be moving somewhere. I'm on way. But I would like to congratulate the entire team and everyone who has made an effort to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to have you here. I mean, your presence itself, enhances the value of the session. We were just completing the session, and Tanuj, I mean, it has been really wonderful. Every aspect, right from what exactly the provisions of the government is, where the government is coming from. I mean, it is just not a budget session, but probably you try to explain where government is coming from. I mean, what is their vision? Why are they implementing this? Where they see challenges? What they want to do in future? Where they want to arrive? And all the provisions were taken care of in a very detailed manner. I think a lot of us have queries, and we will definitely get in touch with you on one-to-one basis. I think no aspect was left. I mean, it was so detailed that it went from personal income tax to corporate taxes to TDS to charitable trust, and everything was covered. So wonderful session. Those whoever participated in this session really got a tremendous value out of it. So I personally felt my value is enhanced. I mean, my knowledge is enhanced. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, Bia.
Now I'd like to invite Shivi to extend a vote of thanks.
Thank you all. What a wonderful, dynamic and insightful session. I would like to thank our astounding speaker, JC Adv Tanuj Agrawal, for the zestful session with an immense knowledge and guidance. We are greatly indebted to you. I would like to express my gratitude to our Chief Guest, Zone President JCI Senator Namrata Joshi, and Guest of Honor, Senior Member Association Chairperson JC Meeta Agrawal, for their invaluable time and words of encouragement. My heartfelt thanks goes to our President JC Sandeep Chhabra and Lady JC Chairperson JC Swati Chhabra for their constant support for the success of this event. I thank our wonderful Project Director JC Naveen Chawla for his excellent efforts throughout the event. I express my special gratitude to all the JCI and non-JCI members for their spectacular participation. Thank you everyone once again. A very wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Do the closure.
All right. Thank you, everyone, once again.